What's up, everyone, and welcome to episode 3. This time around, I'm going to be showing a lot of really close fights for the vast majority, and that's my personal favorite to encounter when invading in this game, and that goes for both wins and losses. There's just something much more rewarding about winning a hard-fought battle, or perhaps losing a hard-fought battle. There's just a lot more to learn in fights like those, in my honest opinion. While it can be quite fun and entertaining to be firing on all cylinders and to be able to dispatch your opponent in a matter of seconds, I prefer the close fights, and that's what most of these are all about. So I get a nice little parry on my opponent's running attack just then, but I really should have switched to the old knight halberd for the riposte. That was my mistake there. Probably would have been able to finish him off had I switched to the old knight halberd. But I took my 1300 plus riposte damage and moved on. And I thought I was going to finish him in that flurry of attacks there, but he did a sort of double, triple roll and escaped from all of that unscathed. And, you know, I saw him pull out that dagger and just figured it was probably indicative of him looking for a backstab. And there it is right there. So he goes for that Wake Up Great Combustion, it misses, and we end up finishing each other off with a final exchange. GG there, man. Those are my favorite types of fights right there. Double KO, come on now. That's one of the best ways to end a fight. This time, I'm actually the invader. The previous fight, I was the prey, and I leave myself wide open with that spin to win. They can be, or the spin to wins rather, can be incredibly effective, or they can be incredibly hindering. But he kind of goes for a questionable wake up on me there with the guard break, and he pays with a backstab from the old knight halberd, which the old knight halberd does insane amounts of critical damage. I mean, I'm sure it's possible to have enough defenses and to be buffed up to the point where you can take a hit or two from old knight halberd's criticals, but if you're not buffed up or anything, it's probably going to be a one-shot. This guy is sort of poking around at me, and I'm chipping away at him pretty nicely, so I'm feeling pretty good about it. But, you know, ever since the last patch, I've seen a lot of poking going on in the game, and whereas before, the sort of pokey weapons really weren't that great. I think that there were some instances where they could be pretty good, I guess when it came down to stun locks and things like that. But now poking weapons actually do pretty damn good damage. This honestly isn't the best example of that. He wasn't able to do much damage with those pokes, but luckily I was able to get a nice little guard break at the end, or it was more of a he ran out of stamina and I was able to completely drain him. So it was a nice little finish there. This invasion, I realized that there's actually a red back here who is probably using a silver talisman, and this is actually a gank, so I thought I was going to be able to turn the tables right there, but the host comes up and just finishes me off while I'm in mid-riposte animation. I'm not too thrilled that you can take damage during that animation, but them's the breaks, I guess. So, in case you guys didn't notice earlier, I'm sort of playing around with the format for Invasion Talk. I'm thinking I should probably show some build info for one particular build, and then follow it up with a string of clips that showcase what that build is capable of, basically, and rinse and repeat. So that's what we're doing here. We have a little bit of a momentum shift. I'm switching up builds, and it's going to be pretty much a different style. Lots and lots of attack canceling and switching the main hand and offhand with this build. That's what this one's all about. I love to incorporate sort of unorthodox attacks, and you'll probably see me throwing out quite a few pokes actually with the parry dagger. One thing that's really awesome about having a whip and a parry dagger in your offhand is you can kind of surprise low poise opponents with pokes from an offhand parry dagger. I know, right? It's just insane to try to think about doing something like that. But if you are fighting a low poise opponent and you're able to stagger him with the poke from the parry dagger, that's pretty good stuff right there in itself. It's not going to do much damage, but the poke comes out so fast. And what's even better is if you can force your opponent to roll away from you during that poke, in which case you can quickly switch to the whip in your offhand as a follow-up and hit them pretty much while they're coming out of the roll. I'll point that out whenever it happens. I'm pretty sure it's going to happen at least once or twice in this set of invasions. But this particular opponent is utilizing a lot of pokey, and it's not to be taken lightly. I've taken a couple pokes and I'm basically at half HP. So I start pulling out my bow, trying to mess with him a little bit because he's doing a lot of backing away. And you know, there's another great aspect of having a whip in the offhand is you can really keep your opponent on his toes if he's doing a lot of back rolling or backing away from you. So it kind of forces them in a lot of cases. So that's pretty much what I'm trying to do to my opponent here. He's using a little bit of LOS on me here. He's fighting pretty damn smart, but I end up just playing patiently and I end up finishing him off with an arrow to the face. GG there, man. You don't really get to fight too many people back by the Sunbro altar, but I really like this setting back here. Really, really nice. He catches me with a very deceptive spin to win there. The range on the spin to win is quite deceptive. That final third spin especially, it catches me off guard a lot of times. And in most cases I try not to go for a roll backstab on the spin to win, and there's a few reasons behind that, but really the primary reason behind it is you can take a lot of damage trying to roll behind someone during that spin to win. It's possible to roll backstab that to death pretty much all day long, just to be honest, but that's not how I like to handle it. I'll try to roll backstab spells like that all day long, though, if they're used in point blank proximity to me, though. But I'm trying to finish this guy off, and I think I threw out a poke with that parry dagger a little bit ago. It was unsuccessful, but I'm fairly certain I actually managed to finish him off. We'll see. Yeah, here we go. Parry dagger poke, a little bit of a roll behind, and the whip as the follow-up. I wouldn't consider that a panic roll. It was really a legitimate roll trying to get away from that quick poke from the parry dagger, but it ends up sort of playing into my hand a little bit, and that's kind of what this build is all about. It's sort of switching weapons constantly and trying to keep your opponent off guard and guessing as to what you're gonna do. There's a nice little attack cancel into L2, another one of my personal favorite moves. And this guy is, oh man, see, I thought I should have had that parry just then. I really thought I should have parried that spin to win, but as it turns out, it does look like I threw it out a little bit too early, and that second parry attempt was just awful. Hit nothing but air. But yeah, here we go. We're coming down towards the home stretch here. It's pretty much next hit wins, or pretty darn close to it. I thought that was gonna hit him, but he hits me off with a nice rolling attack there, man. Really didn't expect a rolling attack from that weapon, but they're actually quite quick and effective with that Black Knight halberd. So we're coming down towards the home stretch here, and this next little segment doesn't really feature close fights per se. This is more of the bonus fight section, if you will. And You know, this build, there's one thing I'd like to say about this build. I have always used power stanced curved swords for this particular setup, and that goes for, you know, back before the nerf to curved sword parry frames, and that also goes for during the nerf to curved sword parry frames. I just don't throw out that many parries on this build, and having a curved sword in the offhand has never been about getting parries. It's just been about the awesome moveset that you get from power stancing these things. I love this moveset. It's probably my favorite in the game. It's so fluid and fancy, but I'm starting to try to incorporate parries a little bit more. You saw me able to successfully execute a little bow lure parry there, and you know, that's something I'm trying to consciously incorporate in my playstyle when I'm on this guy. But this is the last fight, and I know we've all been here before. Trying to fight on these steps is not a good idea. Your weapons have a tendency of clanging off the rocks and off the steps themselves, and there's a good example of it right there. He just kind of leaves himself wide open, unintentionally, of course. And I almost threw it away right there, but we're coming down towards the end, guys. I'm out of here. See you later.